Fran Lab. It's not officially the science news, but I figure it's because this is part of the subject. There's three things here. This was the start of it. The business section of the Times, April 24th. New AI model spurs a scramble. This is Mythos. So this is an article that was written by Paul Mazur and Adam Satariano. I mean, there's a long article. Basically, the first two paragraphs says it all. I'm just going to read it verbatim. When Anthropic told the world this month that it had built an artificial intelligence model so powerful that it was too dangerous for release widely, they named 11 organizations as partners to help mount a defense. So Anthropic created an AI tool. Now, let's backwind a little bit. These AI tools, for the most part, self-generate, right? So the programmers, coders, the staffs of people that are designing these AI models, they're really only designing a basic structure for how the AI model is going to create itself. So what they end up getting is something that they sometimes have no idea what they're going to get. And so Anthropic had basically, they've been working on this particular AI for a while, but it ended up being so good at finding vulnerabilities in software systems, banking systems, security systems, government access, like high-end intelligence systems. It got so good at getting through and finding exploits in software that they decided it was too dangerous to go public. And so they themselves, they went in with 11 organizations, all in the United States, to basically figure out how to use this internet lock-picking AI that can get into anything and exploit any piece of software. Within 2 weeks, the model, called Mythos, had set off a global scramble unlike anything yet seen in the AI era. Mythos, which Anthropic has said is uncannily capable of finding and exploiting hidden flaws in the software that runs the world's banks, power grids, and governments, has become a geopolitical chip. World leaders have struggled to figure out the scale of the security risks and how to fix them, with Anthropic sharing Mythos only with Britain outside the United States. For U.S. rivals like China and Russia, Mythos underscored the security consequences. Of course, now, obviously, the U.S., at least right now, seems to have like a lead in this, but if Anthropic came up with this lock-picking machine, then obviously China, Russia, it's going to get leaked. They're going to have a version of Mythos is going to end up in China, in Russia. They're going to have their own versions. But what does this really mean? So, I mean, there's a long article about exactly why it's so dangerous, but I figured I'm not going to get into the details of that. But it led to, this is an article written, it's an op-ed written by Rafi Krikorian, the Chief Technology Officer at Mozilla, right, which I use, you probably do too, the leading, has been like for decades, open source, pay-as-you-go software, but I actually do contribute to Mozilla. But I wrote this op-ed. It's the end of the internet as we know it. That's a pretty dire title, but it's talking about Mythos. Rafi says last week Anthropic announced that its newest artificial intelligence model, Claude Mythos Preview, could not be released to the public after the company learned it was capable of finding and exploiting vulnerabilities that have gone undetected in critical software systems for decades. It talks about how it was given only to American companies to exploit. Anthropic gave access to Mythos and $100 million in credits to use it to more than 50 of the world's largest organizations, including Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, JP Morgan Chase. And Rafi says, even before the announcement, publicly available AI models were already finding security vulnerabilities in common use software, but these capabilities and the threats that pose to cybersecurity will proliferate, from streaming platforms to online banking services to search engines that answer everyday questions. Broad swaths of the internet could become unusable. And he says, you might be familiar with the concept of vibe coding, using AI tools to turn plain language descriptions into working software. So he's basically saying how, with AI models, millions of people can just create software where you don't have to be a coder anymore. But these applications are often written without security review because it's just written by an AI bot. Nobody to review the code, so potential flaws. Okay. So Rafi says, for decades, two kinds of scarcity kept the internet safe, or safe enough. One was writing software was hard, so people who did it were trained, careful, and there were very few of them. And finding bugs was also hard, so the worst flaws stayed hidden, sometimes for decades. It wasn't a great system, but the difficulty on both sides created a kind of détente. So that's the old internet. And he points out most of the internet was built from open source software. For example, much of the video you stream online is quietly delivered from FFmpeg, a free open source program maintained by volunteers whose combined budget is modest by any corporate standards. OpenBSD, an operating system that runs the firewalls and gateways protecting sensitive networks from outside attack, and which Anthropic calls, quote, one of the most security-hardened operating systems in the world, end quote, runs on donations. And then he goes on to mention that, Mozilla itself, his own company, it's built on the same thing. Now, according to Anthropic, Mythos found a 27-year-old vulnerability in OpenBSD and a 16-year-old vulnerability in FFmpeg, buried in a line of code that Anthropic says other automated security tools had glossed over 5 million times. It notes that both organizations say they have fixed this vulnerability. Even Firefox, the web browser of my own organization, Builds, wasn't spared. Yes, he talks about how it found vulnerabilities in Firefox. And to its credit, Anthropic is among the first major AI companies to decide the responsible thing to do was to slow down. This was the first time that an AI company had publicly said that the machine that they built or that self-created itself was too dangerous to release. So the company said it's committing $4 million to open source security organizations. It's more than anyone else in this industry has done, so that's to Anthropic's credit. But maybe that's also the first shot across the bow that they created something that was so dangerous that they're seeing the possibilities, because this is just starting. This is just the beginning. So he concludes, and yet the underlying economics haven't changed. The most valuable software infrastructure in the world continues to be maintained by people working for free, while the companies building fortunes on top of it never had to pay for its upkeep. And he was on to talk about programmers and the ethos of people who code for free and keep things running versus AI companies that will demolish this said code. He talks about solving the problems by flipping the script, regulating things, overlooking AI companies, AI firms contributing time, stuff that'll never happen. Oversight, that'll never happen. But he goes on to say, détente is over. The rarity and scarcity of coders and coding and code is over. The flaws are visible. The creators are everywhere. The only question is whether we protect all of them or just the ones who can afford to protect it themselves. The end of the internet as we know it. I've been talking about this for 2 years, and every time that I talk about this, I get comments, "Oh, boomer, I know that you're afraid of your phone, you're afraid of your phone, and you're saying AI is going to destroy everything." Just calm down. Let's go, Brandon. Get on the train. Get on the AI train, or get the F out of the way, old timer. And so I get a lot of this. It's like, you freaking child, you have no idea how this is going to wreck your life. It's already happening. This thing that happened to me on eBay, this new software, which Anthropic won't release, which is going to be leaked public. How could it not be? How could it not be leaked? How could anything today not be leaked? How could it not get out? How could the Russians and the Chinese not get their own version of this? And so now, it's not just the near future. I mean, right now, like my adventures on eBay trying to order a table and finding that all the sellers that I'm buying from are just bots that are just taking my money and shipping empty containers. You're going to get to the point where everything you try to buy everything that you try to do, the software that you try to run will have vulnerabilities and exploits that will be found and be hacked. And even the people who own the software won't know that the vulnerability has been exposed and that their systems have been taken over because the companies are too small and too underfunded, as Rafi had put in that article, to defend themselves against these hacks. And because these are going to be AI-driven hacks, they're going to happen so fast and be so global that by the time it's even discovered that the vulnerability is even like out there, it'll be over. Your system will be compromised. Your computers will be taken over. Your phone will be taken over. It'll be done. You opened up the software. It launched its code. You lost your phone. You lost your computer. It happened like that. It's like, this is going to be like the internet equivalent of nuclear war. It's just going to be so fast. And basically, none of these companies out there that even are running software, running systems, cybersecurity, major companies, Apple, Microsoft, all these things that we run on, from our refrigerators to lighting systems to power grids, it's going to have to be defended by AI bots against other AI bots. And then it's like, who has the better AI to win this internet nuclear conflict? And it's really going to come down to who's going to be willing or able to pay the cost of the one software that will protect against all the other softwares. Can you afford protection money from the alpha bot that is currently staying on top of all of the other beta bots trying to take over all the systems? And every country, and there are going to be so many bad actors with so many pieces of software. Well, there will come a time in the very near future where we simply will not be able to use the internet because the vulnerabilities will be such that we can't even trust the networks. And this is all going to happen so fast. It's all happening so fast. And adding to that, this is just another icing on the cake. Yes, jagged intelligence can reframe the debate over AI. It's a small corollary of this whole argument. The strange way that AI looks like a genius one moment and then dense in another is what researchers, engineers, and economists call jagged intelligence. They use the term to explain why AI is racing ahead in some areas like mathematics and computer programming and coding and stuff like that, but still struggling to make headway in others like being a human being and creating artwork and things like that. The term, which is widely used by people building AI and analyzing its effects, could help reframe the debate over whether these systems are becoming smart as or even smarter than humans. Instead, researchers argue AI is something completely different, far better than humans at some tasks and far worse at others. Amen. But the thing is, this is going to be old news because, yes, you could think of it as, a race between mathematical and computational and coding skills in one race and like what we think of as personal human communicatory skills, language skills, creative thought, thinking outside the box, sort of, if the box is the computer, like the computer being able to think about or realize reality as we know it. That's a hard thing for an AI model to do because an AI bot doesn't live in the world. It lives inside of a processor. It's not living, breathing. It can't yet achieve consciousness because it's not alive. It's not in reality. It simply has to use a model that we give it of what reality could be based on a set of data, but it's not experiencing reality. But that slow race that makes AI so laughable, makes it hallucinate, makes it do stupid things, that unfortunately kills people. There was an article in the paper, it was a 2-page op-ed about a man who died of cancer because he got a cancer diagnosis, didn't want to accept it, and basically went to a series of chatbots to give him alternative treatments. And the chatbots convinced him that he didn't have cancer and that his doctors were lying to him. And he spent a year of his life in denial, reinforced by these chatbots. And his family was just frustrated. They couldn't reach him. He got locked into believing these machines, and he died of cancer within the year. It overwhelmed his body, and by the time he finally went into treatment, it was, he was stage 4. It was too advanced, and he died within weeks, terribly. Just one sad story of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are putting their lives into chatbots, and people having relationships, friendships, replacing the human world with AI bots that are basically sycophants that will never criticize them and encourage them to do stupid things and hallucinate and lie to them. That slow race that we sort of it counterweights the public opinion of AI as being dangerous, because when you can say that, like, Anthropic's mythos is going this way to world domination, to take over whatever it wants and become sentient, we got that, and then that's offset by all the stupid, ridiculous stuff that AI does, different kinds of chatbots and learning language models, stuff like that. The ridiculous things. It counterweights to say, well, forget about that. Look how stupid AI is. It's nowhere near like a human. But that slow race, it's slow, but it creeps forward. And so, whereas Anthropic has this dangerous piece of software that they're afraid to release, but they did anyway, really. They did release it to these companies, and it is out. You got that on one hand. And then, we got the slow race, which I think, within years, certainly, will catch up. And then we're going to be dealing with a different level of problem, Because right now, when people think of AI, they're thinking about image generation, the deep fake video generation, and all that's just going to get more convincing at a very fast clip. But then, these companies are depending on these machines more and more, and they really don't control them anymore. And so it's not a matter of we're going to be living in a world. We are living in a world that is being controlled by these machines. And we're entering a world that is going to be dominated by these machines. In fact, companies like Anthropic and all these other AI creating companies, they're going to be at the mercy of their own self-created software to protect them from themselves. Because I'm sure even Anthropic has no idea how Mythos really works. And yeah, it's not a matter of being worried anymore. I've been worried for 2 years. I've been talking about it for 2 years, and despite the fact that a lot of the younger generations and even some of the older generations, they just see the benefits of machines taking over, I, for one, support our new AI overlords. Yeah, the either jump in or get out of the way people, even they will be consumed by it soon enough. It's so crazy that I can't even speculate what it'll be like in a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's going to be really out there. I think that article might be true, that the internet as we know it, the internet as we knew it, might very well be over. It might soon be a realm where we cannot trust anything. I mean, if the core of the internet, if the absolute core of the internet gets compromised, you're not going to be able to trust that the URL that you're going to is where you're going. It's serious. Mozilla is telling you it's over and that it's the most serious crisis that we've had on the internet. You gotta effing listen. Yeah. As if we didn't have enough to worry about. This seems like, I don't know, maybe the internet is over. Maybe places like eBay are over. Maybe this scam cycle that I got caught in eBay is, maybe it's the first warning shot over the bow, but maybe it's all over for the internets. Don't know. But there you go. In the lab. That's where I work. In the lab. Go berserk. In my lab. That's where I work. That's what you're watching. Friend love. That's what I'm doing. Working at the bench again. I'm Fran.